Sue, body up the middle, making another move to the outside. 15, 10, end zone again.
Keeps it. Nice move by Brown. He's got space. He's got 6. 35-yard touchdown for Byron Brown. A record-setting night for the South Florida quarterback.
Down so far, a little bit of a high snap. Genty right up the middle. Genty has room. Ashton Genty, give him 6.
Second and long. Lagar tries to fit it in a row. It does. Rowe stays up. The show's off his 4-3 wheels. Incredible effort for Rowe.
The G5 Hive. All G5, all the time.
Welcome to the G5 Hive Live, where we're excited to bring you G5 college football coverage you love each and every week. I am Luke, and I'm joined by my co-host, Justice. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're watching us on X, please give us a follow, a like, retweet. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please rate and review. The G5 Hive merchandise store, now live. Link in our YouTube video comments, as well as pinned on our X page. And at the bottom of the screen here is pretty cool. We got a little shout out on Christmas morning. One of our fans got a shirt. I'm not sure who who gave him the gift, but it was pretty cool to see that was a Christmas gift for somebody. On to the G5 Hive American Athletic All-Conference team. Offensive-wise, we went with quarterback Bryson Daly, Army, running back and friend of the show, Mario Anderson, Memphis, running back Mekhi Hughes, Tulane, wide receiver DT Sheffield, North Texas, wide receiver Rock Taylor, Memphis, wide receiver Dante Wright, Temple, tight end Houston Thomas, UTSA, offensive tackle Lucas Scott, Army, offensive tackle Connor McMahon, Navy. Offensive guard Xavier Hill, Memphis. Ooh. Offensive guard Bill Katsigiannis.
Katsigiannis.
My pronunciation not great. Army center Brady Wilson, UAB. And then kicker, Jonah DeLonga, UAB. Others that I considered was Mario Williams at Tulane.
That was probably the biggest one, right? There's other great running backs in the AAC, but Mario Anderson and Mekhi Hughes, I think, were the clear top two. Where we had the debate, I think, was receiver there, right?
Yeah, because Dante Wright, he was injured, missed a little bit. Like, I don't know, like you just knew who was getting the ball at Temple, and like no one could stop him. And Dante Wright, when he was out there, was great. But then it's like, okay, well, the best ability is availability, so why not have Mario Williams out there? But Dante Wright, when we were doing in season and we were doing our top wide receivers, like he was in there like every week, and we thought he deserved that. So went with Dante Wright.
The other one, I think, where we could have gone a different way, might have been tight end. But truthfully, I don't think there was one, tight end in the American that really stood out above the rest. I think what stood out for Houston Thomas was he had a stretch of like 4 games, I want to say, where he did really, really well. I believe the quote official all AAC tight end was Anthony Landfear from Memphis. I can't argue that, but I think that stretch of 4 games outshined any other tight end in the American. That's kind of why we went with Houston Thomas. If there's anything interesting, I guess we have 3 linemen from the service academies. But Army won an award, right?
Best offensive line
in all of college football. So, And they did. They had an outstanding year, and two offensive linemen on our All American team to kind of show why they deserved to win that award. This unlike the freshmen, we don't have too many transfers here now. A lot of these guys are going to be playing in the NFL next year, so that they won't, or they're out of eligibility, I should say. But we don't have too many transfers.
Mekhi Hughes, he's in the transfer portal. He's crystal balled to Oregon.
Yeah, Jordan James just declared, so I'm sure that's opens up a spot for Hughes there.
Wide receiver DT Sheffield transferred to Rutgers, and then Brady Wilson from UAB off to Virginia.
So yeah, not too many transfers, but most of these guys. We know Bryson Daly, Mario Anderson, and Rock Taylor, I believe, are all out of eligibility. Houston Thomas does return. I think Xavier Hill is also out of eligibility as well. So most of these guys out of eligibility. We'll see some of them in the NFL next year. Let's move over to the defensive side of things, and let's start with the edge. We got Jamori Robinson from UTSA. Got defensive tackle Patrick Jenkins from Tulane. Defensive tackle R.J. Jackson from Tulsa. Edge Desmond Little from UAB. Linebacker Taekwon King, Temple. Linebacker Colin Ramos, Navy. Linebacker Chandler Martin, Memphis. Safety Jamarly Riddle, East Carolina. Safety Max DiDomenico, Army. Cornerback Za Frazier, UTSA. Cornerback Deshaun Peel, Navy. And punter Riley Reithman from Navy. As far as other considerations, is probably defensive tackle, where we could have considered Landon Robinson from Navy. Landon Robinson, just unbelievable athlete for Navy. He plays nose guard for them. Had an outstanding game in the Army Navy game. He was a big part of the reason why they won in the Army Navy game.
The punt, yeah.
And then probably the one we had the most debate was with the safeties. And it was between three folks. The two we chose, Jamarly Riddle from East Carolina, Max DiDomenico from Army, and then the other guy on our all-freshman team, CJ Hurd from Florida Atlantic. I think it probably came down to between Riddle and Hurd, and I believe Riddle had more interceptions, and it kind of swayed the boat there for us to give the nod to him over CJ Hurd.
And Max, he was getting about 4 tackles a game, and then he was 24th in the I'm trying to remember the acronym that he
adjusted net yards against per coverage snap.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was probably the one we debated the most about, or had the most conversation about on the defensive end, and like the offense, most of these guys, not too many are in the transfer portal. We got edge Jamori Robinson, UTSA, is in the transfer portal. He has not made a choice yet. Defensive tackle RJ Jackson is off to UCF, and linebacker Taekwon King is in the portal with does not have a destination yet either. But a lot of these guys will be playing either out of eligibility or playing in the NFL. Chandler Martin definitely should be playing in the NFL. I feel like get drafted come April. He's had an outstanding 2 years at Memphis. I think he actually has a year of eligibility left, but he's already declared that he is going to the NFL draft.
All right. The offensive player of the year for us, none other than quarterback Bryson Daly, Army. Bryson passed for 1,007 yards and 9 touchdowns while rushing for 1,659 yards and 32 touchdowns. He rushed for over 100 yards in 11 of 13 games this season with a season high of 171 yards versus East Carolina. Fun fact brought to you by our friends at BK Night Nation. Bryson Daly will finish the season as FBS leader with 32 rushing touchdowns. The last time an Army football player led the country in rushing touchdowns was when halfback Bob Anderson did it with 12 in 1957. A world in which we had 12 rushing touchdowns. Can you imagine that? Bryson had a phenomenal season that saw him finish 6th in the Heisman voting. Congratulations, Bryson.
Yeah, this one. I mean, I guess there really wasn't another choice.
Yeah.
I mean, if we had to pick someone else, I think it'd be Mario Anderson,
Mario, yeah.
Memphis. But yeah, this was an easy choice. Bryson Daly, phenomenal year. Army had a phenomenal year. They lost to Navy, which I'm sure stings. But they won the American Conference their first year in the conference. And so, yeah, I mean, they won their bowl game. Sadly, they did not get to match up against the Sun Belt champion in Marshall. But they played who was in front of them. They beat Louisiana Tech. So phenomenal season by the Army Black Knights. And Bryson Daly, I believe, is graduated. So sadly, we won't get to see him anymore on the football field. But he'll be serving our country in the Army to fulfill his commitment going there to West Point. All right, our defensive player of the year for the American Athletic Conference is cornerback Za Frazier. Za had 24 tackles, 20 solos, 1 tackle for loss, 1 forced fumble, 9 pass defenses, and 6 interceptions, which ranked 2nd in college football. He had 3 games where he had 2 interceptions each. This versus East Carolina, North Texas, and Temple. He finished the season with a quarterback rating against of 36 and an adjusted net yards against per coverage snap of negative 0.057, which ranked 2nd in all of college football. Congrats on the outstanding season, Za. This one we had a little bit of a debate with his teammate, Edge Jamori Robinson. Jamori had a lot of sacks, but he got the majority of those sacks in one game. And so we just felt, over the course of the season, Za Frazier had a bigger impact. And so we went with him as our American Athletic Conference Defensive Player of the Year. But Jamori had an outstanding season as well.
What do you think, looking forward to this next season in 2025, when we're looking at this conference, which team do you feel like has the edge? Is it Navy with Blake Horvath coming back and all the great things that they had? Is it UTSA with McCown and another year under his belt and how explosive that team looked? Kind of like the Roadrunners as of old here a couple years ago. Memphis, we talked about having that FedEx money. Are they able to piece together things that are good enough that they'll figure it out and win? Later, you got Tulane. That they lose a couple, but like, what are your thoughts on what this conference?
You're baiting me. You're baiting me.
Do you think the team's purple and yellow? Do you think it's ECU, Caden Hauser?
I think today, if I would say, I would probably go Navy, East Carolina, UTSA in that order. And what worries me about UTSA is defense. They lose a lot on defense, either to NFL or to the transfer portal. And so that's offensively, I think they return just about everybody. And And so I'm not worried about the offense. For them, it's the defense that concerns me. Yeah, I think I have to put Navy number 1 with Blake Horvath returning. But yeah, I mean, there you go. East Carolina would be my second, be number 2 for me. Like what they're doing on offense. They got to replace some pieces on defense, though. They lost their leading linebacker, Zakai Barker. I believe they lose defensive tackle Deonta Johnson. And then, like I said earlier, they lose a lot in that secondary, either to NFL or to graduation. But Riddle does return. So yeah, I think for me that's where I would stand. Navy 1, East Carolina 2, UTSA 3. I think Memphis has got to rebuild.
Figure out your quarterback situation. I mean, that's the big thing.
And then
we're talking about ECU,
Tulane's the same way.
We're talking about ECU, UTSA, Navy. What do all 3 of them have?
Their quarterbacks return.
Yeah. And we see it with one of the things that I like about Navy, and we're seeing it in the transfer portal where a lot of guys are moving around, is like that core of guys. Like,
that's one thing with Army, Navy, Air Force you don't have to worry about, right? I mean, Army did lose Kanye Udo, but that's a rarity.
Yep.
If you're not familiar, military, anyone that goes to the academy, they would have to transfer
before their first class as a junior.
Yeah. They don't have to do it. They can do it after that, but then they still have their commitment they have to honor, their right. Military service commitment. So generally speaking, they're going to do it their freshman or sophomore year. And so, but still, it's a rarity. It's a rarity to see those guys transfer. It does happen, but it's not very common. So yeah, I mean, those teams, I guess that's one benefit of, if you will, I guess, is those guys don't really have to worry about that, and they're able to develop their players the old school way and not really be overly concerned about them leaving.
Well, that does it for us this week. Come back and join us next week as we continue with our all G5 Hive conference teams. We'll cover the MAC, the Mountain West, and the Sun Belt, as well as finish everything off with our G5 Hive All-American team. And always bring you up to date with all the latest news and happenings in the world of G5 college football. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're watching us on X, please give us a retweet, a like, and a follow. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please subscribe and leave those 5-star ratings. It's great for the algorithms. We want your guys' support. If you guys like what we're doing, help support us. Thank you for all your support. Until the next time, we are the G5 Hive.